People always said monsters lived in the shadows, but they never mentioned how beautiful they could be when they turned their eyes on you. I thought killing him would be the hardest thing I'd ever do. Turns out, resisting him was worse. Elliot Vance. The name carried through the underground like wildfire, whispered in the corners of Hunter bars, written in blood on crumbling walls. He wasn't just any vampire, he was their king, their nightmare. The embodiment of everything my family had spent generations trying to destroy. And me? I was supposed to be his executioner. That was the plan anyway. When I first saw him, it wasn't in some dark alley or a castle dripping with candlelight like the stories would have you believe. No, it was in the middle of a gas station parking lot in small-town Ohio, of all places. The fluorescent lights buzzed, the air smelled like gasoline and stale coffee, and there he stood like he didn't belong to this world, and maybe he didn't. Pale, timeless, impossibly elegant. He wasn't buying snacks or filling up a car. He was just there, waiting. For me. "You're late," he said. His voice cut right through me, low and amused, like I was the punchline to a joke only he understood. I tightened my grip on the silver dagger hidden beneath my jacket, the one I'd trained with for years. Every hunter in my bloodline had dreamt of this moment. And yet, staring into those gray eyes that seemed to know me better than I knew myself, I froze. "I don't even know you," I forced out. He smiled. "God help me," he smiled. "Don't lie to me, Gabriel. I've been searching for you for centuries." And just like that, the world tilted. If I had been smarter, I would have lunged at him right then. Silver to the heart, ash to the wind, and I'd finally be free of the weight of expectation. But my body betrayed me. My mind betrayed me, because somewhere deep inside, a voice I didn't recognize whispered, "Don't hurt him." Instead, I asked the stupidest question imaginable. "Why?" Elliot stepped closer, his coat shifting with the night breeze, his presence swallowing me whole. "Because you are the missing piece of what I lost long ago. You are the answer to the ache that's haunted me for centuries." It should have been terrifying. It should have sent me running. But there was something in the way he said "it's something raw," something desperate that cracked my carefully built armor. I hated him for that. My mother had died because of vampires. My father drank himself into oblivion because he couldn't live with his failure to protect her. My older brother carried the scars, both visible and invisible, of battles that never seemed to end. And me? I was supposed to be the hope of the family, the hunter who would finally end the reign of monsters like Elliot Vance. But instead, here I was, standing under a buzzing gas station light, staring at the very creature I was sworn to kill and feeling something that felt a lot like destiny. I told myself it was just manipulation. Vampires could do that, weave illusions, bend your mind until you didn't know what was real anymore. That had to be it. Because the alternative, the idea that my enemy might actually be my other half, was unbearable. He didn't attack me. He didn't vanish into smoke or bare his fangs like I expected. He just looked at me, like he was memorizing every line of my face. And then he said something that would haunt me for weeks. "You look like him," Elliot whispered. "You even sound like him." I frowned. "Like who?" His gaze softened in a way I didn't think a monster's ever could. "The man I loved. The man I lost. That night followed me everywhere. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, the hunger, the sadness, the terrifying tenderness." My brother noticed. "You're distracted," Caleb muttered one morning as we cleaned our weapons. "Something happened on the hunt?" I wanted to tell him. I wanted to say, "Yeah, actually, the Vampire King told me I was the reincarnation of his long-dead boyfriend, and now I can't stop thinking about his stupid perfect cheekbones." But instead, I lied. Nothing happened. He got away. Caleb grunted, suspicion in his eyes. He'd been doing this too long not to notice cracks in the story. But he let it go. For now. The problem was, Elliot didn't just disappear after that. He started showing up. Not in obvious ways, she wasn't reckless, but in small, deliberate intrusions into my life. A fleeting figure in the corner of a crowded street. A shadow that moved when it shouldn't have. A book left on my motel doorstep, its pages filled with underlined poems about lost love. It was maddening. And yet, I didn't stop him. Part of Memabe, the part that had grown tired of the endless blood and loss, wanted to understand. Wanted to know why this immortal being, who could have anyone, anything, would choose me. The breaking point came 2 weeks later in Chicago. I was on another hunt, tracking down a nest of feral vampires who'd been tearing through the South Side. It was supposed to be simple. Get in, kill them, get out. But it went south fast. There were more of them than intel suggested, and one got the jump on me. I remember the smell of rust and rot, the burn of claws raking down my arm. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how I die. And then he was there. Elier, moving faster than my eyes could track, tearing through the ferals like they were nothing more than paper. Blood and ash filled the air, but not mine. When it was over, he stood in front of me and scathed, his pale hands shaking. You're reckless, he growled, anger sparking in his voice. Do you have any idea what it does to me, seeing you like that? I staggered, clutching my wound. Why do you care? His eyes burned into mine, fierce and unflinching. Because I lost you once, Gabriel. I won't lose you again. And then, for the first time, he touched me. His hand brushed against my cheek, cool and steady, and I swear my heart stopped. I should have shoved him away, should have driven the dagger straight through his chest while I had the chance. But I didn't. Instead, I let myself lean into his touch, just for a second, just long enough to feel what it was like to be wanted by someone who saw Menet as a weapon, not as a failure waiting to happen but as something irreplaceable. It was only a second, but it was enough to change everything. The human heart is a fragile thing, but mine was betraying me faster than I could control. Every instinct screamed to end him, to bury my blade in his chest and finish what generations before me had failed to do. But instead, I stood in that abandoned warehouse in Chicago, bleeding, trembling, and aching for the cool press of his hand against my cheek. Elier's thumb brushed over my skin, and I flinched not because it hurt, but because it felt too real, too intimate. He wasn't supposed to look at me like that. He wasn't supposed to care. Don't, I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I was telling him or myself. His eyes didn't waver. Gray, ancient, infinite. I can't stay away, Gabriel. Not when you are everything I lost. My throat tightened. His words crawled beneath my skin, burrowing deep where I couldn't pry them out. I wanted to hate him. God, I wanted to hate him. But instead, I asked the one question that would unravel me. Who was he? For the first time, Elier looked away. His hand dropped, and in that moment I saw a fracture in his armor, the sorrow he carried like a second skin. His name was Adrian, he said softly, the word tasting like grief. He was my beginning and my end. Until you. I left him that night. I told myself it was over, that I would never see him again. But lies are easy to tell when no one's watching. In the silence of my motel room, I replayed his voice, the way he'd said until you like it was a vow, not a curse. And deep down, I knew I was already lost. Caleb noticed the shift long before I admitted it. My brother wasn't stupid. He watched me sharpen my knives with restless hands, saw the way my eyes wandered toward shadows that shouldn't have mattered. You're hiding something, he said one night, tossing back a beer in the glow of a flickering motel lamp. I shrugged, trying to sound casual. We're all hiding something. Not from me. His gaze cut sharp. You're different. Distracted. You think I don't notice? You've always been steady, Gabe. Focused. Now you look like someone lit a fuse under your skin. I laughed it off, but it wasn't funny. Caleb's words were too close to the truth. Because he didn't know that every time I closed my eyes, I saw Elier. The second time Elier saved me was in St. Louis. Another hunt gone wrong. Another ambush by creatures that shouldn't have been smart enough to trap me but were. I fought hard, but I was bleeding out fast, the ground tilting beneath me. And then, like the night in Chicago, he was there. Not as a monster. Not as a king. As a man who couldn't bear to see me die. Why do you keep following me? I demanded through gritted teeth as he pulled me out of the carnage, carrying me with ease. His jaw tightened. Because fate is cruel, Gabriel. And if fate brings me back to you, I won't spit in its face a second time. I wanted to laugh, to tell him how ridiculous he sounded, but I couldn't. Not when his voice trembled at the edges like he was confessing a sin. He patched me up in silence, his cold hands gentle, his eyes lingering too long. And when I finally found the strength to speak, the question slipped out before I could stop it. Did you love him? Elier froze. For a long moment he didn't answer. Then slowly he nodded. More than I thought possible. Enough to damn myself for eternity. My chest ached. It was foolish, but I wanted to ask the one thing that burned in my throat. And do you love me now? But I didn't. I wasn't ready for the answer. The days blurred. Every hunt became a tug-of-war between my duty and the gravity pulling me back to him. I told myself I was tracking him, studying him, waiting for the right moment to strike. But the truth was simpler and far more dangerous. I wanted to see him. Every glance, every accidental touch, every stolen moment it chipped away at the walls I had built. And then came the night everything shattered. It was a stormy evening in a forgotten corner of Pennsylvania. The rain hammered down like bullets, and the wind howled through the skeleton of an old church where I had cornered him. My blade was drawn, my heart in my throat. "This ends tonight," I shouted over the storm. He didn't flinch, didn't fight. He only stepped closer, the rain streaming down his face like tears he could never shed. "Then do it," Elier said. His voice was steady, but his eyes, they were begging. "Kill me, Gabriel, if that's what you truly want. But know this: I loved you before you were born, and I will love you long after you've gone. End me if you must, but you cannot end what binds us." My grip faltered, my blade wavered. Lightning cracked above, illuminating the broken church, and for the first time I realized what terrified me most. It wasn't killing him, it was loving him. I dropped the blade. It clattered to the stone floor, drowned out by the storm. Elier's chest rose and fell like he'd been holding his breath for centuries. And then he closed the distance between us, his hand brushing mine, his lips inches away. The first kiss wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry, a collision of everything we tried to deny. His mouth was cold, but the fire in my chest burned hotter than any sun. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. I clung to him like he was the only thing keeping me alive. Maybe he was. When it broke, when I finally tore myself back, my breath came ragged, my body shaking. "This is wrong," I whispered. "Then let it be wrong," Elier murmured, his forehead resting against mine. "Let the world call us cursed, damned, unnatural. I don't care. As long as I have you, Gabriel, I don't care." And God help me, I believed him. But nothing stays hidden forever. Caleb found out 2 weeks later. I should have known. My brother was too sharp, too relentless, and my lies were unraveling by the day. He followed me one night, and when he saw me with Elier, saw the way we looked at each other, snapped. "You've lost your damn mind," Caleb roared, dragging me out of Elier's reach. "That thing killed our mother. His kind destroyed our family. And you in love with him?" The words cut deep. Shame burned my skin. But deeper still was the truth I could no longer deny. "Yes," I said. My voice cracked, but it was steady. "I love him." The silence after that was heavier than any blade. Caleb stared at me like I was already dead, and Elier stood still as stone, his eyes unreadable. In that moment I knew 2 things. 1, my brother might never forgive me. 2, I wasn't letting Elier go. And that was how the war began. The hunters turned on me. Whispers spread: Gabriel, the traitor. Gabriel, the one who fell for the monster. I became the enemy in the very world I was born into. But I didn't care. Because every time Elier touched me, every time his lips brushed mine, I remembered why I chose this path. Not because it was easy. Not because it was safe. Because love, even the forbidden kind, was worth bleeding for. They came for us at dawn. I had barely slept, my head resting against Elier's chest while the night hummed with storms outside. For once, his presence had quieted the chaos in my mind. His arms around me felt like safety, though I knew the truth being with him had painted a target on my back bigger than any blade could pierce. The first sound was the crunch of boots on gravel. Then the muffled click of guns being readied. I sat up instantly, instinct screaming. Elier was already awake, his gray eyes burning with a knowing sorrow. "They're here," he murmured. My blood ran cold. Hunters. My own people. The door burst open with the crack of wood splintering, and suddenly the cabin was flooded with men in black coats, crossbows raised, stakes gleaming in the pale light. At their head was Caleb. My brother's face was carved with fury, his eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. But underneath it all I saw his pain, the betrayal. "Step away from him, Gabriel," Caleb commanded. His voice didn't waver. He wasn't my brother in that moment. He was the hunter, the one who carried our family's legacy in his bones. I stood anyway, putting myself between him and Elier. "Don't do this. Don't." Caleb spat. "You're protecting him? After everything? After Mom?" His voice cracked, but he swallowed it down with rage. "Move, Gabe, or I swear I'll put him in the ground with my own hands." Elier said nothing. He didn't bare his fangs, didn't move an inch. His stillness was louder than any defense. He wasn't afraid, not for himself, anyway. Only for me. "Caleb, listen to me," I pleaded, my voice raw. "He's not what you think. He saved me, more than once. If he wanted me dead, I wouldn't be standing here." Caleb's jaw tightened. "That's what they do. They lure you in, make you think they care, and then they take everything." His gaze flicked to Elier, venom dripping. "You've already let him take you." The words hit like a blade to the gut. But before I could answer, Elier finally spoke. "You're right," he said quietly. "I've taken him, and I won't apologize for it." The hunters tensed, weapons shifting. Caleb's face twisted in disgust. "You admit it?" "Yes." Elier's voice cut through the tension, steady as stone. "Because he is mine. Not as prey, not as a prize, but as the part of me I lost long ago. I would burn this world before I let you harm him." The room seemed to crack open with those words. The hunters raised their crossbows, Caleb's finger tightening on the trigger. And me? I chose the side that would damn me forever. I raised my blade not at Elier, but at them. The fight was chaos. Wood splintered, arrows hissed through the air, shouts echoed against the walls. I moved like a man possessed, blocking strikes I never thought I'd deflect, fighting men I'd once called brothers. Beside me, Elier was a storm incarnate, every movement lethal and beautiful, his coat whipping through the smoke and dust. But no matter how strong we were, the hunters kept coming. For every one we dropped, two more pressed in. And Caleb fought like a man on fire, his blade aimed at Elier with deadly intent. "Stop!" I screamed as sparks flew from clashing steel. "He's not your enemy. You made him mine." Caleb snarled, shoving me back. His eyes were wild, grief and rage twisted into one. "You chose him over us." The truth of it shattered something inside me. When it was over, the cabin was a ruin. Hunters scattered, some dead, others wounded, their retreat marked by curses and vows of vengeance. Only Caleb remained, his chest heaving, his blade trembling in his grip. He looked at me, and for the first time I didn't see a brother. I saw a stranger. "You're not Gabriel anymore," he said hoarsely. His eyes shone with something that cut deeper than hate sorrow. "You're his." He turned and walked away before I could find words. And in the silence that followed, Elier wrapped an arm around me, steadying me when my knees buckled. That night I cried. Not because of fear, not even because of guilt, but because I realized the cost of what I had chosen. My family was gone. My world was gone. And all I had left was him. Elier held me through it, his hand never leaving mine. He didn't speak. He didn't promise it would be okay. He just stayed. And somehow that was enough. The weeks that followed were a blur of running and hiding. The hunter network was vast, and Caleb's betrayal spread faster than wildfire. Gabriel, the traitor. Gabriel, the vampire's whore. Everywhere we went, eyes followed us, suspicion lingered. We found shelter in forgotten places, abandoned churches, crumbling barns, the ruins of motels long burned out. Each place became a fleeting home, a fragile sanctuary where the world couldn't reach us. And in those hidden corners, our love grew. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't easy. Some nights I woke screaming from nightmares of Caleb's face, of my mother's death replaying in loops, of Eliar's blood staining my hands. And every time Eliar was there, his cool arms around me, his lips pressing silence into my hair, his voice reminding me that I wasn't alone. Other nights, I watched him when he thought I was asleep. The way his eyes softened as they lingered on me. The way his hands hovered like he was afraid I'd disappear if he touched me too hard. For all his power, Eliar carried a fragility I didn't understand until I realized. Immortality hadn't made him invincible. It had made him lonely. But love isn't enough to keep the world away. It was in New York that they cornered us again. Not hunters this time, but vampires. Eliar's own kind. We were walking down a deserted alley, the neon glow of the city reflecting in puddles, when the shadows moved. Figures emerged, 6, maybe 7 of them, eyes glinting red, their smiles cruel. "Your Majesty," one of them sneered, bowing mockingly. "The council has grown tired of your distractions." Eliar's hand tightened on mine. He didn't move, didn't blink, but his voice was a whip of steel. "Leave," the vampire chuckled. "Not until we've cleaned up your mess. A king who abandons his throne for a human? It's pathetic." His gaze slid to me, fangs flashing. "We'll rid you of him." The air split before Eliar moved. It was violence and beauty all at once, the crack of bone, the hiss of ash, the feral growls echoing through the alley. I fought too, but it was Eliar's wrath that turned the night into carnage. By the time it ended, the alley was silent but for our breaths, blood dripping from Eliar's hands. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Not for himself. For me. "They won't stop," he whispered. His voice broke, quiet as prayer. "Not the hunters. Not the council. They will never let us exist." I stepped closer, my hands cupping his face, smearing his skin with blood that wasn't his. "Then let them come," I said fiercely. "Let the whole world burn. I'm not leaving you." His lips parted, his breath trembling. "Gabriel." And then I kissed him, hard and unyielding, under the neon glow of a city that had no place for us. We became fugitives, enemies of both sides, a hunter who betrayed his family and a king who betrayed his crown. And maybe that was the cruelest joke of all, that only in exile, only in ruin, did we finally belong to each other. But there was one truth neither of us could ignore. This war was far from over. The final battle wasn't in some ancient castle or sacred battlefield like the stories promised. It was in the ruins of a steel mill on the edge of Detroit, a place forgotten by everyone except the ghosts that haunted it. Rusted beams clawed toward the night sky, the air thick with ash and memory. That's where the world came for us. Hunters and vampires, two sides that had never stood together in centuries, now united by one goal: to erase us. I stood shoulder to shoulder with Eliar, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would break my ribs. The faces in the shadows blurred together, crossbows glinting beside sharpened fangs. And there, at the front, was Caleb, my brother, his eyes cold as steel, his voice carrying like a sentence. "End this, Gabriel. Step away from him. Come home." For a split second, I saw the boy who used to sneak me extra food when Dad was too drunk to cook. The brother who'd held my hand at Mom's funeral. The one who'd sworn he'd protect me, no matter what. But that boy was gone. And maybe the one he remembered was gone too. "I am home," I said. My voice shook, but it didn't break. I found it in him. The fury in Caleb's face was worse than any blade. The first shot fired. Chaos exploded. Crossbows twanged. Swords clashed. Fangs sank into flesh. The steel mill echoed with screams and the ringing of death. I moved with Eliar, every strike a desperate dance to keep us alive. His power was unstoppable, but there were too many. Too fast. At one point, I stumbled, an arrow grazing my side. A hunter raised his blade to finish me, and then Elier was there, tearing him apart with a snarl that shook the air. His eyes found mine, blazing with something feral. "Stay with me," he growled. "I'm not leaving you," I swore. And then Caleb was in front of me. Our blades clashed, sparks flying like dying stars. He was stronger, faster, fueled by rage. Every strike was a question he never asked out loud. Why him? Why not us? Why not me? "I don't want to fight you," I gasped, blocking another swing. "You already are," Caleb spat. "Every choice you made was a fight against me." His blade nicked my arm and pain flared hot. I stumbled, and in that heartbeat, his eyes softened just enough for me to see the truth wasn't just angry. He was broken. "You were all I had left," Caleb whispered, his voice cracking under the weight. "And you threw me away." The words gutted me. Before I could answer, Elier appeared, knocking Caleb back with a force that sent him sprawling. My brother looked up, dazed, and his eyes locked on Elier's. "Take me then," Caleb snarled, raising his blade again. "If he means that much, kill me first." Elier froze. His chest heaved, his fangs bared, but he didn't strike. Instead, he looked at me, and in that single look, I understood this choice wasn't his. It was mine. I lowered my weapon. Caleb blinked, stunned. As I stepped forward, blood dripping down my arm. "I'm not killing you," I said. My voice was hoarse but unshakable. "I never could. But I won't abandon him either. I love him, even if the whole damn world says it's wrong." The silence that followed cut sharper than any blade. Hunters froze. Vampires stilled. And for one impossible moment, the war paused, balanced on the edge of my words. Elier's hand found mine, cool and steady. His voice, when it came, was soft but carried through the ruin like a vow. "If you choose him, you choose me, and I will never let you go." I squeezed his hand. I already did. Something shifted then. Maybe it was in Caleb. Maybe it was in the hunters, the vampires, or maybe just in me. But slowly, impossibly, weapons lowered. The council vampires hissed in frustration. The hunters muttered curses. But no one moved. No one struck. Caleb's blade wavered. His eyes burned with pain, with fury, but beneath it all resignation. "Then you're lost to me," he whispered. Tears stung my eyes, but I nodded. "Maybe, but I'm found in him." And just like that, it ended. Not with victory, not with triumph, but with surrender. We didn't win that night, but we weren't destroyed either. The hunters scattered, fractured by doubt. The vampires slunk back into the shadows, their unity crumbling under Elier's defiance. And Caleb's brother walked away, his shoulders heavy, his shadow stretched thin. The steel mill fell silent, broken beams silhouetted against the dawn creeping over the horizon. Elier stood beside me, his face pale, his eyes tired but alive. For the first time in centuries, he looked like a man, not a monster. I reached for his hand. He took it, and in that quiet, with the world against us, I realized something. Love doesn't need to conquer. Love just needs to survive. Months passed. We wandered from town to town, never staying too long, always careful, always watching. But in the stolen moments, the laughter over cheap coffee, the late-night walks through empty streets, the way his lips curved into something almost human when he looked at me, we built something. Not perfect, not easy, but ours. And in time, the whispers faded. The hunters turned their sights elsewhere. The vampires retreated to their thrones. Caleb never returned. The war didn't end, but neither did we. One night, we sat on the hood of a car by the ocean, the waves crashing against the shore, the stars stretched endless above us. Elier leaned back, his arm brushing mine, his voice low. "Do you regret it?" he asked. I turned to him, studying the lines of his face, the sorrow, the hope, the impossible beauty that had wrecked my life and remade it all at once. "No," I said honestly. "I regret the pain. I regret losing my brother. But you? Us? Never." His eyes softened, and for once he looked young. "I waited centuries for you, he whispered. I thought I was cursed. And then you came, and I realized I wasn't cursed. I was waiting to be found. I smiled, leaning into him. Guess that makes two of us. And under the endless stars, with the ocean roaring and the world still against us, I kissed him. Not like the first kiss, desperate, stolen, frantic. This one was steady. Sure, the kind of kiss you give when you're done running. Because the truth was simple. I had set out to kill a monster. Instead, I found my missing piece. And for once in my life, that was enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.